Well, President Trump is set to impose tariffs on the automotive sector starting next week, the latest addition to the sweeping reciprocal tariffs he is calling Liberation Day. But the real goal of tariffs may be more about national security and less about fairness, according to our next guest. I want to bring Thierry Wizman. He's Macquarie Group's global strategist. Thierry, thank you so much for joining us. Talk to me about the clarity and the thesis that you have behind the goal from the Trump administration on tariffs.
Well, there are different kinds of tariffs. First of all, there are the reciprocal tariffs that we may see imposed next week. And those really are a response to perceived unfairness in the international trade system. I think the administration perceives other countries to have plenty of tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade that impede a level playing field for the U.S. But what we're talking about this morning are these industrial tariffs. And we've seen these already. The auto tariffs are not the newest. They're the newest industrial tariff, but they follow on the steel tariffs and the aluminum tariffs, and we may even get pharmaceutical product tariffs down the road. But why are these separate? Because these are not really intended to level the playing field so much. What they really are intended to do, at least in the eyes of the administration in the U.S., is to help rebuild the so-called defense industrial base of the U.S. There's a perception on the part of the administration that without a very large manufacturing base present in the U.S. and manufacturing capacity, we're putting the U.S. effectively at a disadvantage in the context of a very fraught geopolitical environment where there are a lot of conflicts. There may be a lot of conflicts in the future. You don't want to have the U.S. be the global protector, but at the same time have its hands tied behind its back with regard to its capacity and ability to fight the next war if that happens.
Yeah, so Terry, I have a question for you on that. It's clear that the goals are very noble ones in terms of the strategic benefits of creating this sort of tariff system. The challenge, I think, that I have with it is that we're doing near-term measures which are going to take many, many years to actually play out, right? So right now we're getting, which I'll call, for lack of a better word, a little bit of pain, which is fine, but the potential gains, if we can even see them, they may exceed the term of this president and possibly even the next one. And you know how the political pendulum swings, that it could easily swing the other way, and a lot of this pain will be for nothing because a lot of this stuff will sort of be reversed by a future, let's call it, administration. So I was curious on your thoughts of that, and also, are there also other ways that you perceive that we can gain that strategic benefit without putting these tariffs, essentially putting the pain on our domestic companies right here?
Yeah, well, we're certainly putting the pain on our own auto companies. If you judge by the performance of their stocks yesterday, the prospect that their costs might go up because they have to source their materials in the U.S. as opposed to outside the U.S. parts, for example, is in fact putting the pain on those companies. And you're absolutely right. There may be better ways to address the problem of the hollowing out of the defense industrial base in the U.S. than to just put on tariffs on other countries. One way to do it is through the tax system, which is usually the best way that countries go about and public policymakers go about conducting industrial policy. So, for example, in the next tax bill that comes out of the U.S., you could have a clause, the introduction of a measure, whereby if you purchase a car in the U.S. as a U.S. resident and you finance it, that you will be able to deduct the interest payments, but only for cars that are built in the U.S., where the content is 100% U.S. Well, that would be a huge incentive for the customer to buy U.S.-made cars, obviously. And of course, it would cause capacity to come to the U.S. organically without the need for tariffs. Right. So there's clearly other ways. And I don't necessarily believe that tariffs are the best way to bring that capacity back to the U.S. As far as the long-range considerations here, every journey begins with a step. And although it's true that the next administration may not approach the resuscitation, if you will, of the defense industrial base in the U.S. the same way that President Trump is doing so. Keep in mind, there were certain things that Trump did in his first term that were not overturned by the Biden administration, including those tariffs on China. So it's very possible, and I think the administration is counting on the prospect by the time the 4 years roll around, there'll be enough advancement with regard to this policy agenda that it will be very difficult for the next administration to turn things around or remove them.
All right, we got to leave it there, Thierry. Thank you so much for joining us. Thierry Wizman.
My pleasure.
Fantastic note. Thank you.